The road to this deal has not been easy, Biden said. This is one of the toughest negotiations I've ever experienced. Biden said that during the next 6 weeks of the first phase of the ceasefire, Israel will negotiate the necessary arrangements for Phase 2, a permanent end to the war. The U.S. president said that there are a number of details to negotiate to move from the first and second phase. If negotiations take longer than 6 weeks, then the ceasefire will continue as long as the negotiations continue, he said. Phase 2 will allow for an exchange for the release of all the remaining living hostages, including male soldiers. The second phase will also involve all remaining Israeli forces to be withdrawn from Gaza, and for the temporary ceasefire to become permanent, he said. Biden says Americans will be part of first phase of hostage release. Biden, in a news conference, said elements of this deal are what he laid in detail in May 2024, and that the first phase will last 6 weeks and includes a full and complete ceasefire, withdrawal of Israeli forces from all the populated areas of Gaza, and the release of a number of hostages held by Hamas. In exchange, Israel will release hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. I'm proud to say Americans will be part of that hostage release on Phase 1, he said. The Qatari Prime Minister, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani, is asked whether pressure from the incoming Trump administration got the ceasefire deal over the line. Al Thani acknowledged that there has been a momentum that started to build in the last month, and that he has seen a clear demonstration of U.S. commitment to reach a deal within the past few days. We have seen steps that have been taken recently from the U.S. that have yielded to this moment, he said. Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani said that the details of Phase 2 and 3 of the ceasefire deal will be finalized during the implementation of Phase 1. Hopefully this will be the last page in the days of the war, he said. He stressed the necessity of both sides committing to the implementation of all 3 stages of the agreement in order to prevent civilian bloodshed. Qatar will continue its efforts with Egypt and the U.S. to ensure that all sides are following through with their commitments and engagements, he said. Phase 1 of the ceasefire deal, which will last 42 days, will involve Israeli forces positioned along the Gaza border, the Qatari Prime Minister, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani, said. As part of the phase, Hamas will release 33 Israeli captives, including civilian women as well as children, elderly people, civilians who are wounded or ill. In return, Israel will release a number of prisoners who are being held in Israeli prisons, he said. The phase will include the return of displaced people to their homes, he said. It will also facilitate the travel of wounded and sick people in order to receive treatment. The first phase will include the increased flow of relief and humanitarian aid to all parts of the Gaza Strip, as well as the rehabilitation of hospitals, health centers, and bakeries. The phase will allow for the entry of fuel and civil defense equipment, as well as basic necessities for displaced people who lost their homes as a result of the war. The European Union remains committed to supporting all efforts towards a long-lasting peace and recovery, the EU Commissioner for the Mediterranean, Dubravka Šuica, said. Šuica posted on X, I welcome the ceasefire agreement and hostage deal between Israel and Hamas, which will bring much-needed relief to those affected by the devastating conflict. Biden said he was deeply satisfied that this day has come for the sake of the people of Israel and for the sake of the innocent people in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has remained silent about the ceasefire, a move some interpret as a reflection of his ego and the sense of loss stemming from the war's outcome. Critics suggest that acknowledging the ceasefire might be seen as an admission of unmet objectives or diminished control, potentially bruising his image as a strong and unyielding leader. This silence may also underscore his reluctance to confront the public perception of Israel's strategic position in the aftermath, leaving observers to question whether his personal pride has influenced his approach to addressing the conflict's resolution. Thank you for your viewership. Please help us grow this channel.